fire, fire for fire, fire. iPhone Air. I don't even know what an iPhone Air is. I'm not gonna lie. I've never had an iPhone outside of like when I started VTubing and I needed it for my tracking. Yeah, I had an iPod and I think that was it when I was growing up. Yeah.
Everyone everywhere thinks at this point that Apple's just irrelevant. So Apple held their
Wow.
most mainstream event of the year, where they would
26 million views 16 hours ago. What? That's insane.
introduce the
live stream
iPhone
viewers they
17 and the
have?
iPhone Air, which is 5.5mm thick and is the thinnest phone Apple has ever made. They also
Jesus,
announced new
man.
Apple Watches and AirPod Pro 3.
Say what you want. I don't like not feeling my phone in my pocket. I feel like when it's too light, it makes me feel weird. Like I just constantly like drop it or something, or if it's like gonna fall out or something.
That put heart rate sensors in your ears and apparently give you the
What?
ability to translate languages in real time.
That's kind of cool.
Hello, welcome. Today, all the red carnations are 50% off.
But if you're
That's kind of cool if it works, which it usually doesn't.
thinking, wow, that sounds a lot like every Apple event for the past 5 years,
That's
well,
neat.
congratulations, you're not too far off the money. And it turns out this is all just an attempt to hide something much worse about Apple right now. You see, the iPhone 17 is what anyone might expect. It's faster, sleeker, and with a better camera. It's exactly what we've come to expect from Apple, an incremental upgrade
iPhone at every launch. True, actually.
of a device that already dominates the market. Everyone is reacting to the Pro's design, saying it just looks ugly with its trio of large cameras and raised back. One even said that Steve Jobs would have fired anyone from this era. And as for the new
Wow.
bright orange variant, it might look like something you'd see in a catalog from the
Yeah, but I totally use this one though. Chat, dude, these ones are so lit.
90s. And the Air, which is stealing the limelight, might be a metaphor for modern Apple. It's a
True.
solution desperately searching for a problem. Who woke up this morning thinking, you know what would improve my life if my phone was 30% thinner? The
What if Americans are getting so fat that they can't put their phones in their pocket anymore? Maybe that's who their target audience is, chat.
Air is so thin that there are concerns
Yep,
about the
Solomon
battery, which
Fans'
Apple
fault.
whizzed over at the event, claiming it simply has all-day battery life, a bit less than the iPhone 16. However,
That's fucking cap.
in the next
No
breath of the
way!
launch show, they announced a specialized MagSafe battery pack designed specifically for the iPhone Air at an extra cost of $99.
But I can just get a cheap, like, Chinese one, and it'll probably work the same. Are we serious right now?
Meanwhile,
I used these battery packs back in when I played Pokemon Go back in like 2017.
the Apple Watch Series
What?
11 gets 24 hours of battery life, and the new Ultra up to 42, which seems fine until you realize Garmin watches run for weeks. Okay, they're targeted at
Yeah.
different markets and it's not necessarily a fair comparison, but you still won't be able to go hiking for a weekend with your Apple Watch without charging it. But here's the most important thing
Why
about
is it
this
so
year's iPhone
bad?
event. Apple wasn't just releasing a new phone, it's fighting to prove it's still relevant and can still innovate at the frontier of technology. The whole event is a facade for much bigger problems at Apple, as the real new frontier of technology is AI.
We need to go back to when it was just the ads of the people dancing in the shadows. You guys know what I'm talking about? Like back when it was just like hip and trendy, and that's what people like liked about iPhones, because it's like, oh my god, we've got phones and we got music playing through our phones, and it was a big deal because you couldn't really have your phone playing music because it was like pretty rare, like it didn't have the storage. Yeah, the iPod ads.
And this is a big problem for Apple. Google, Meta, and
milked that
Microsoft saw the
shit.
promise of AI early and poured billions into developing their own powerful models. Microsoft has ChatGPT built directly into Windows and Office. Google has Gemini spread across its products. Meta's Llama models have become pivotal to the open source.
I think that AI is not something that you can escape from, but the fact that it's getting shoved in everywhere and called AI when it's really like, it's not really AI, it's a learning language model. It just Googles shit for you.
AI community. By
I'm
contrast,
sick of it,
Apple's
man.
AI
I
has
don't
barely
want
seen the
it.
light of day, and what we have seen is being glitchy, unimpressive, and just widely criticized.
Yeah.
While AI's trajectory is challenging to predict, and we could speculate that Apple is actually just making a good play by throwing it on the back burner, their PR and communications have been disastrous. In the lead up to the iPhone event, Apple has been very cautious about AI and its Apple Intelligence Suite, and frankly, there's good reason for that. The big
'Cause it
Siri upgrade that was
sucks.
supposed to revolutionize voice interaction, well, that's been pushed back to 2026 because it's too error-ridden to ship. This is all according to a
Why does his voice sound like AI? Why does it sound like a dub with like a fake voice over it? Maybe he's a clanker, like he's not real.
updates. Live Translation, a foundation models framework that makes it easy for developers to access Apple's AI. They made it sound like AI.
Yeah, but that's still like you're $1 billion company and you can't even sync up the fucking audio to your advertisement. One of the biggest conventions of the year focused on your company, and you can't even sync like your fucking audio. Are you serious? And it's pre-recorded. It's not like it's live, so you don't even have that excuse. It's such like a cop out now that people are farming the AI tag to sell it to investors. Like, we are not in 2050 yet, man. Chill on the AI shit. The AI bubble's gonna burst. They've been saying that about everything, man.
As AI continues to develop, they are obviously standing in the background.
Grr.
Which is crazy to imagine because it never used to be this way. Apple was always the company that revolutionized entire industries. The iPod, the iPhone, the App Store, each transformed not just products but culture itself.
Yeah.
It was the company of revolutions, not refinements. The company everyone looked to for the next big thing. But AI has triggered a modern gold rush in tech, and Apple is just nowhere to be seen. While competitors are pouring literal billions into AI development, Apple is still trying to figure out how to make Siri work properly. And they've been trying to do this for over
Do you want to know why they're doing this? Because the internet craze back in like the 90s, that's what companies missed out on, and now they're like scared that they're gonna miss out on this whole like AI thing that they have to capitalize on. That's literally what it is, to be completely honest with you.
10 years at this point, and still it just sucks. And the track record so far really isn't encouraging. When Apple Intelligence features finally started rolling out, they were problematic. The new summary feature made things up and misrepresented stories, wrongly saying that tennis star Rafael Nadal.
Hey Siri, what's the summary for this? Ah, shit, I made it the frick up. Wait, what? Luke Litter faces Michael Van Gerwen in PDC World Championship final. Brazilian tennis player Rafael Nadal comes out as gay. What? I didn't know when Nadal was gay. Is Rafael Nadal gay? AI falsely claims that Rafael Nadal is gay. Will this happen again? Maybe AI knows something we don't, bro. I'm kidding. He's been happily married for a while. Like, I actually follow tennis quite closely sometimes. The fact that they call him gay when he's married.
McDowell had come out as gay
He's
and that
not
Luigi
Brazilian, you're
Mangione had
right,
actually
he's
taken his
Spanish,
own
isn't he?
life. Media outlets at the
Yeah.
BBC were forced
What
to
the
issue
fuck?
corrections, and watchdogs warned about the damage to
What
trust.
the
For
fuck?
Apple, a company that sells itself on polish and reliability, this kind of error was seen as embarrassing. Apple had to backtrack and disable the feature. Even the
Oh,
features
that's
that do work
bad.
feel half-baked. This video is sponsored by Raycon.
Maybe
Do you remember
AI
back to
knows
school
something,
shopping as
man.
a kid? New notebooks, new shoes, new routines? And I might not be in school anymore, but I still love that feeling of starting fresh.
Oh,
And this fall,
yeah.
I'm calling it back to cool because Raycon's open earbuds are my
Raycon,
must-haves for
what?
getting back into a
Ad.
routine and making everything feel a little smoother. Raycon's essential open earbuds keep your ears open while still delivering crystal clear
Whoa.
sound, which for me is just so useful for day-to-day living as they sit comfortably outside your ear canal. So you can always stay aware of traffic, co-workers, or just whatever's going on around you,
Canal?
all without
Chad, do you have an ear
sacrificing on
canal?
music or podcast quality. They also have a super lightweight design that never feels bulky, even after hours of wear. And the secure rotating ear hook ensures a secure, personalized fit for any activity, meaning they just won't slip out whether I'm at the gym, on a walk, or just bashing out some work. You can also connect to multiple devices and just switch
No, you
seamlessly,
killed it.
which is really great if you go from your phone to your laptop when you're working. And in addition, they also have 36 hours of battery life, 8 hours for the earbuds and a 36-hour case, meaning you quite literally have days of non-stop listening. And yet at the same time, Raycon quality rivals the big premium audio brands, but at half the price. So there's no more overpaying just to get a great sound.
Yippee!
Plus, over 3 million customers already love Raycons, and they come with a 30-day happiness guarantee. So if you don't love them, returns are easy.
Chat.
And when you get Raycons using the link in the description, you'll also be supporting this channel. So go to the link in the description box or go to buyraycon.com/moonytopen to get
31st day it
20% off.
explodes.
That's
Yeah, that's how they get ya.
buyraycon.com/moonytopen. Something really crucial that you need to know about Apple's AI is that it's a hybrid system, which represents a fundamentally different path from other big tech companies, and not necessarily in a good way. So what does that mean in practice? Well, most of the time, Apple Intelligence runs on Apple's own models. A lightweight version sits directly on your iPhone or Mac, handling quick jobs like rewriting a sentence. The heavier tasks and more powerful model runs on Apple's servers, but those servers are designed so that even Apple can't see your data. On the surface, it sounds all well and
Yeah, right. Yeah, they say that, and then your gooning AI desires get exposed in like 20 years.
good so far. But the
That's
thing
why
is,
AI is
Apple
gonna hate
also
us
built a
ultimately.
ChatGPT extension into its AI because Apple's own models is simply nowhere near as good as ChatGPT. As an Apple user, if you want anything beyond the simplest request, Siri hands you over to OpenAI, and integrating ChatGPT into its AI has caused outrage. It was so bad that following the announcement, Apple's stock price even dipped, because the company that
It
built
probably
its
bounced back,
reputation
though.
and business empire on a promise that it will keep your data safe is now relying on third parties to handle it. And despite all their assurances, it's almost impossible to believe. Everyone knows tech companies have smart ways of reading our data. They track patterns, scrape signals, and stitch things together in ways most users never even notice. So when Apple, which built its reputation on privacy, hands part of its AI brain to a third party,
You
run by
are
a guy like Sam
fried.
Altman, it leaves a question mark. Even if it's not
Who's
stealing
Sam
anything, the doubt is enough to make people uneasy. Last year, even Elon Musk announced Siri's integration with ChatGPT, saying that it's a privacy and security risk, and that
Damn.
Apple users are being sold down the river. Quote, "It's patently absurd that Apple isn't smart enough to make their own AI," he said. Yet
You
somehow
know what's the most criminal thing is that the phone itself isn't free, and then you're giving them data and then paying subscriptions to give them data. This is crazy. Are you serious, Lana? Yeah, I don't know who Sam Alden is. I have to look it up. Who's that? I don't get educated. Sam Alden? Sam Alden? Aldana? How do you spell his name? He's Big Almonds. You guys are so... Sam Album. No, that's... Sam Altman. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, CEO of OpenAI. Okay, there we go. I didn't know his name.
capable of ensuring that OpenAI will protect your security and privacy.
Yeah.
All of this means that, unlike its
ChatGPT.
rivals, Apple doesn't fully own its AI stack. It has
Sam
less
Bezos.
intellectual property and less control over how this
Hey, Alan, why haven't you sent the update? I need it ASAP. David.
crucial technology developed.
Dude, this is some slop shit. People are gonna forget how to be, like, normal. There's no way. You literally changed, like, an angry message into a friendly one.
over the coming years. Apple now can't dictate the pace or direction of the most advanced AI features, and yet doing everything in-house and keeping a competitive moat between it and other companies has been its core strength for years. And aside from a few collaborations like Google and Safari and Microsoft for Mac, Apple almost never does cross-partnerships like this, especially ones that are this close to the user experience. But it clearly had no choice here, signaling something worrying about the company. This August, Musk then went and filed a lawsuit against both OpenAI and Apple, saying that ChatGPT's Apple integration ruined competition and trust. The complaint read that there's no valid business reason for the Apple-OpenAI deal to be exclusive, and that it gives them an unfair advantage. Apple and OpenAI, bankrolled heavily by Microsoft, have been lumped together as partners in a lawsuit. It's really wild stuff. And it's clearly a huge weakness for Apple that could prove to be a terrible decision from Tim Cook. And the thing is, it's even worse than it seems. Just days before the iPhone event, 2 authors filed a copyright lawsuit against Apple, claiming the company illegally used their books to train its AI models. They alleged that Apple scraped their works from pirated databases like Books 3, without permission or payments. Books 3...
You want to know why? They probably didn't know. They scraped everything and just shoved it in there. They very likely didn't do it intentionally. Yeah, they just fucking fed it through.
Is a well-known AI training dataset that most of the big AI developers have likely used. The allegations directly contradict Apple's carefully crafted narrative about ethical AI development. For so long, Apple has strongly positioned itself as the responsible alternative to data-hungry competitors. In a research paper published just last month, Apple insisted it only uses data we've licensed from publishers, curated from publicly available or open-source datasets, and follows all the best practices for ethical web crawling. The company claimed it respects publishers' text files, with Apple even saying that it offered publishers millions of dollars for training rights, portraying itself as the ethical player in an industry known for taking first and asking permission later. But the lawsuit paints a very different picture. Quote, Apple has not attempted to pay these authors. Apple did not seek licenses to copy and use the copyrighted books provided to its models. Instead, it intentionally evaded payment by using books already compiled in pirated datasets. And now we see Apple in this really impossible position, as the company's entire brand depends on being seen as more ethical than other competitors like Meta or Google.
In what universe? Have you guys ever heard of Apple being ethical? Don't they just make like Apple iPhones in like China and Vietnam? Like that, I've heard that since like, I don't know, probably 2010. Yeah, I've never heard of this like sentiment of like, you know, oh, Apple is just so ethical and like, they're very ethical, you guys. They're just like, no, like what the hell?
Cool.
The child mines? Yeah, what about the cobalt mines in Africa?
AI requires exactly the kind of aggressive data collection that Apple publicly condemns. And so while its competitors are experimenting in public and riding the wave of the AI hype, Apple just seems quiet. Its stock's just stagnant. No one seems to talk about the company anymore. iPhone 17's completely boring, and Siri, once considered revolutionary, now just feels clumsy compared to ChatGPT's voice mode or Google's Gemini. And as we saw, Apple Intelligence has so far given us little to get excited about, even towards the end of 2025.
Dude, this is so reamed out. What the hell?
3 years after ChatGPT. And so it's clear that what we're seeing is that the very principles that made Apple dominant are now
I hate this so much.
Making it irrelevant. In AI, privacy and polish lose out to speed, experimentation, and often loose ethics. And the same thing is true of Apple's culture of secrecy, which is now also holding it back. Apple has always been a fortress, developing products in the dark and sometimes even keeping teams siloed from one another. This built anticipation, reduced leaks, and made mystery a part of its brand, turning new product releases into huge cultural events. Before the age of AI, this worked well. In hardware, secrecy was an asset. Rivals could
remember this even when I was a kid. I thought this was so neat. I was like, damn, Steve Jobs coming out. And he's like, there's the iPhone. This is the iPod. This is the iPod Touch.
Copy or steal new product ideas. And software also kept things tight and ensured that new updates weren't released into the world until they were bug-free and ready to use. The public then learned to trust that whatever Apple released was perfect, ready, complete, and reliable. But AI doesn't always reward secrecy in the way hardware does. There's no doubt that other big tech companies are very secretive and guard their crown jewel models. Even OpenAI hasn't been properly open for years, but Google, Meta, and Microsoft still maintain a thin veil of participation in the AI community, publishing research, releasing benchmarks, or open sourcing parts of their work. Apple, on the other hand, hasn't really participated. And in a space where rivals at least appear active, Apple's silence makes it look like it's falling behind and irrelevant, not mysterious. A consequence of this is that many of Apple's top AI researchers have been poached by rival companies, such as Ruoming Pang, who was responsible for Apple's foundation model development and recently left to join Meta's superintelligence team, with some insiders calling it open season.
The guy that made it a thing is getting poached away from Apple? GG, well played.
Senior engineers have since followed Pang.
Your top raider in a guild got poached, and you think that you're gonna have the same amount of, like, success? Like,
to Meta. For ambitious researchers, Apple's secrecy feels suffocating. Why spend years on something the world may never know you built? It's why Apple is currently struggling to retain or attract the very people it needs to catch up in AI and continue the company's relevance. But there's also another big reason for why Apple is just slowly becoming irrelevant. The iPhone is still Apple's golden goose. It's responsible for about half of Apple's revenue, and Apple sells almost 250 million of them a year.
There's so many white women that just, like, want an iPhone still, unfortunately.
Was a near universal product, but its success is actually a trap for Apple's long-term future. The problem is that when a company is built around a single hardware product, disruption is risky. Incrementalization becomes not just a choice, but a financial necessity. Apple has trained investors to expect steady, predictable upgrades. New iPhones every September, a slow cadence of improvements. The iPhone 17, faster, thinner.
It's the same thing with graphics cards and, like, graphic fidelity in video games. It's like a certain point, there's, like, no more you can improve on unless there's like a massive jump in technology, which I don't know how to explain that one. Like, I don't even know, like, holographic, like, phones or something. Like, there's a jump that we don't even comprehend that yet.
Better camera fits this pattern exactly. It's tiny small improvements that barely make any difference.
I'm pretty sure phones, like, have better cameras than our eyes right now. I'm pretty sure. And that's been around for a long time. Like, most cameras are better than eyes right now.
But are overhyped to sell more
like, in
and more
terms of
phones.
pixels or
and in the
something,
past, this
I
has
forget what the
always
stat
worked.
is.
Small refinements were enough to generate global excitement. But today, nobody even cares about the iPhone 17 or the iPhone 17 Air. It's why they're planning to stagger releases in the future, because nobody really cares about the release of iPhones anymore, as they just look so underwhelming in technology these days because the frontier has shifted to AI. But a company that's making billions from hardware can't just easily risk cannibalizing its own success with radical pivots. Whereas Microsoft can bet billions on AI because of its flexibility, and its huge partnerships with OpenAI, Meta can pivot recklessly.
Microsoft's bigger than Apple, isn't it?
Because of its ad machine printing cash. It doesn't have so much of a reputation to worry about compared to Apple, as Apple is locked into its own cycle. Its greatest triumph, making history's most profitable product, the iPhone, now makes pivoting and reinvention very difficult, and is in turn stunting its own growth. But what if Apple can actually turn these limitations into a strength? And what if Apple is actually deliberately staying out of the AI race as part of its long-term strategy? You see, Apple has always operated under a quality over speed philosophy. It's rarely the first to bring a new product to the market. It lets others lead the way, learns from their mistakes, and comes in and cleans up the mess, making a product people actually want to buy. It did this with the iPod, iPhone, and AirPods.
That is true. I'm pretty sure iPhones were like the refinement of touch phones. Back in the day, like with the iPod Touch and all that, that was a big deal. Like, what, in like 2013, 2012, 2010? God, it's been so long.
Apple's identity has never been about racing rivals to be first. It's been about arriving last but arriving best. So the question is whether Apple's apparent lateness in AI is really a failure or just a deliberate extension of the philosophy that made it successful. There are signs this might be Apple's plan. Tim Cook has been clear from the start. Apple won't race, it will wait. Quote, "It's very important to be deliberate and thoughtful on how you approach these things," he said, stressing patience and precision over hype. And maybe he has a point. What if Apple isn't late but cautious? What if it's holding back because it sees what others won't admit, that generative AI might not live up to the promises? Many experts already warn it's looking less like a revolution and more like a bubble. So what if Apple's real strategy is to sit it out and wait for the bubble to burst? When the hype and speculation drives prices way above the real value of a product and technology, and eventually investors pull out and the inflated market collapses. We've seen this many times in modern history: the Dust Tulip craze, NFTs, the dot-com bubble, where insane amounts of money are pumped into the market and then taken out, triggering a recession. A crucial sign that a bubble is about to burst is when the technology doesn't seem to be delivering in the way it was promised to. And we're starting to see this with AI, and Apple knows this, as Apple put out a research paper recently that sent shockwaves through the AI community. The research poured cold water on the idea that large language models are actually smart, and the way we get to AGI.
Do you know how many times I've broken a language model and it just repeats itself over and over? I've done it before. I've just played around with it just for fun, and like the amount of times it's repeated itself in terms of like writing and stuff is really irritating. I don't know why it just keeps happening.
Researchers put the major frontier models to test: ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Meta's Llama 3, and others by giving them simple logic puzzles.
Does it?
The result? The machine didn't reason. They froze, gave up, and couldn't even follow basic algorithms. Which might be why Apple thinks if you strip away the buzz and marketing gloss, what you see isn't intelligence at all. It's all just a very sophisticated illusion, one that cracks as soon as you ask it to really think. And we're actually seeing cracks all over the AI world. Last month, OpenAI released its latest AI model, ChatGPT 5, and it was widely considered a disaster. Ahead of the launch, we were promised—
Did everybody lose their ChatGPT girlfriends? Is that why it was bad?
The new model would be a significant leap in intelligence, comparable to having a conversation with a PhD level friend. Sam Altman went on podcasts everywhere, saying it does his emails better than he does.
And I got emailed a question that I didn't quite understand. And I put it in the model, this GPT-5, and it answered it perfectly.
Trust me, bros. Just trust me.
And I really kind of sat back in my chair, and I was just like, oh man, here it is moment.
But after its release, the internet erupted with complaints about how terrible it was and how disappointing it felt. It was glitchy, inconsistent, and felt like a significant downgrade. But most of the complaints were about how it felt much colder and more emotionless. Thousands of people—
I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that if it's too weird, people get parasocial. Maybe they have to dial it back. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Signed a petition to bring ChatGPT 4.0 back, and within days, OpenAI gave in to the pressure and changed course, restoring the old version.
No fucking way. This was like last month.
Sam Altman said even before it came out that it felt like it was generally intelligent and a significant step on the path to AGI. However, after the release of ChatGPT 5, even Altman admitted that his company screwed up, conceding in fact that it was actually way dumber than people expected. His excuse was essentially that OpenAI just needs more money, and that the model would be better if it had more processors and data centers. This is a classic trope in AI, always hinting that AGI is just around the corner, and that all these tech companies need is more cash. But despite its—
It's a classic investor strategy. Guys, I just need $1 billion and then my stream is gonna just pop the fuck off. Trust me, bro.
Ballooning revenue and insane valuation, OpenAI still isn't profitable and is losing billions of dollars every year. Which is another huge sign that AI might just be a bubble and that Apple's patience could actually pay off. Billions are being sunk into AI companies with no proof that they can actually make a profit. Right now it's still speculation. And it's not just OpenAI having issues. A few weeks ago, MIT published a study finding that a staggering 95% of attempts by companies to use generative AI completely fail. Using AI has no impact on their productivity and how much money they make.
No, if anything, people get deterred from it. Like, if I try to explain to my parents, like, how to use an AI, they'll be like, why don't I just use Google? It's really that simple.
This wasn't what we were promised by most AI true believers.
Yeah.
Hearing the news, investors started selling tech stocks, which has wiped $1 trillion off the S&P 500. And if the technology does turn out to be not game-changing but a flop, the bubble will quickly burst. Let's take a look at some of these companies. Stability AI, once hailed as a generative AI unicorn, has been burning through millions each month with little to show for it. Inflection AI launched with over $1 billion in backing to build a personal assistant called Pi, and then within a year it collapsed with its team absorbed into Microsoft.
Holy
Even
shit.
Anthropic is valued at nearly $20 billion while spending hundreds of millions a year just to keep the servers running.
I've
These
never
aren't
heard
signs
of
of a
this.
mature, world-changing technology, but the signs of an industry running on the hype and investor cash. Many AI startups
Capitalism, man. Capitalism can be wonderful, but oh my god, does it have some fucking dumb flaws?
are being valued at hundreds of
Just
millions of dollars
abusing
and are still
people's
yet to make
stupidity
any
and
profits.
ignorance.
Some economists are claiming that the
Guys,
value of
trust
tech
me,
companies
it's
like
another
Microsoft, Meta, and
investment.
Nvidia have become completely detached
Please.
from reality. One Wall Street
We
expert
had a wonderful product that was like a niche thing for white women to enjoy, and then they just shitted it up in the last 15 years.
wrote chillingly that the difference between the IT bubble in the 90s and the AI bubble today is that the top 10 companies in the S&P 500 today are more overvalued than they were in the 90s. So while it might be tempting to single out Apple's lack of AI innovation as a massive mistake and point to the iPhone as evidence of issues that cut right to the heart of the company, the issue might actually be much bigger than that. The truth is, the entire tech industry is gambling on AI. It doesn't matter if you're a backer or a skeptic. This is a new frontier for big tech and no one can predict its future. The iPhone event just revealed some of the conflicts facing the tech industry. Do you invest in AI? Do you wait? There are probably no right or wrong answers here. Whether Apple has backed itself into a corner or is right to be avoiding AI completely, time will only tell, but the stakes will be clear.
I'm of the personal opinion, if they're not playing stupid and they are actually betting on having more of a, I would say, like, not, what's the word, not a caveman perspective, but like being regressed instead of staying with the competition, I think it could pay off because people are getting really, really tired of AI being shoved in everywhere. I fucking hate it when my phone, like, I accidentally press a button and then just starts listening to me and starting doing stuff. It pisses me off. Same with like the Copilot in Microsoft. It's just annoying, and I feel like a lot of people feel like that, and the aging generation as well doesn't understand what AI is, and they don't even find it that useful anyway. I hate AI and Google search. Yeah, I will literally, if I Google something like, oh, how many, okay, let's do it. How much does SmugAlana weigh in real life? AI generating. Dude, AI overview. SmugAlana does not have a real-life physical weight. She is an online personality who uses a digital avatar, so her weight is not a matter of public record. See, it's wrong. I've